What signs can you recognize if your wife is cheating on you? Was it a sudden change in her mood? Or did she start leaving the house in the evenings to go out? Did she say she always wanted to have fun with the girls? Or something else out of those hundreds of little things worth paying attention to? As for me, well, let's just say it was just a keen intuition. When I came home from work, she was on the phone, and as soon as I crossed the threshold, she hurriedly said, "I gotta go, he's home, bye," and immediately pressed off, looking at me innocently. That was all it took for that horrible, gut-turning suspicion to flare up inside me. I thought about asking her who she was talking to, but she could make up anything, couldn't she? Like that she was chatting with a salesman from the couch store to order 2 marvelous massagers for the relentless war on cellulite for the price of one. That kind of thought couldn't have just popped into my head out of the blue, right? There must have been a worm of doubt inside my mind about my wife for some time now. I didn't like it myself, and I didn't want it to keep gnawing at me day after day. I'm not good with change in my life. I guess you could say I'm one of those old-fashioned guys who stick to the principle of, it's better to stay out of something that's working fine, lest you break it and make it worse than it was. I guess it's time to introduce myself and tell you about my family. I'm Ron, and Cindy and I have been safely married for 24 years. We have 4 children, 2 adults and 2 teenagers. We're not millionaires, but what we have now is enough to make a decent living. At least we don't have any debts to anyone. Cindy and I own a comfortable little house, and the mortgage is paid off. Our cars may not be brand new, but we don't have to pay monthly payments on them. We probably still have a few small credit card debts, but that's about it. So all in all, we are an average American family, and we try to live within our means. Every weekday we work, we eat, we take care of our house, the younger kids go to school, and on weekends we sometimes go out as a family. Likewise, Cindy and I try to keep up with everything our kids are into, whether it's sports, art classes, scouting, or any other activity they are involved in. Sometimes we even have dinner all together, around a common table in our close-knit family circle, which in these times, you might say, is a rarity. Cindy and I have a sex life that is probably the same as most middle-aged people. We make love once every 2 weeks or so. I might wish it were much more frequent, but you know it takes 2 to do the horizontal tango. And lately, Cindy has been, shall we say, not so keen on that kind of dancing. That was a pun, if anything. Because of my stupid supernatural intuition, I'm afraid I'm now going to have to be on the lookout for any strange signs from Cindy. It's like I don't trust her anymore, for no apparent reason. I'm just hoping that this nagging knot twisting inside my stomach is just normal indigestion and not a harbinger of what I suspect. My main problem is that I'm not a super sleuth or a 007. I'm just an average middle-aged man who doesn't know much about all the fancy hidden video cameras, phone tapping, computer hacking, and other spy stuff you may have heard or read about. And on top of all that, I'm not rich enough to be able to hire a private investigator to follow my wife, especially since I have no idea where I'm supposed to dig or what I'm looking for. Cindy handles all of our finances, so I have no idea how much she pays, to whom, or when. If I suddenly start going through all the paperwork, I'm sure she'll notice and will want to know why I'm suddenly buried in bills and receipts. What am I supposed to say to her? "Honey, I've got some suspicious heaviness in my stomach. You're growing horns for me." Is that it? Yeah, and she's like, "Honey, I bet you'd rather go for a piss than do that shit." A little family history. Our marriage seems pretty normal, as it probably should be at this point in life and at our age. I met Cindy when we were both in our early 20s, dated for about a year, and then got married. About once every 2 years she had a baby. When the number of children reached 4, I got a little tired of the babies popping out of Cindy like those moles in a slot machine, so I had a vasectomy shortly after her last birth. So it was one of those nights when everyone who lives in our house, the 2 teenagers, my wife and I had dinner together. The kids talked a little about their day at school, and Cindy told us about her part-time job at the library. I should say that after our 2 youngest started college, Cindy got a little bored with being home alone, and after a while got a job at the local library. That's where she worked part-time, and her work schedule was irregular. Maybe the library was one of those places I needed to check out. But how was I supposed to do that? It's not like I could just take a day off work to sit right in front of the entrance to the fucking library and watch who goes in and out of there and who Cindy chats with. Hell, then it'd be every first-timer in the damn place. She's a librarian. It's her job to talk to the smart ones every time. Well, fuck the library. I got a better idea where I can catch her. She was going to her women's card club tonight, so I guess I could start my private investigation right after she left the house. To do that, I'd have to covertly follow her in my good old pickup truck. Oh, come on. You're yelling that I'm on the verge of getting caught. Again, I can hardly afford a rental car, as husbands on the trail almost always easily do in all those stories about cheating wives. Anyway, Cindy left to cut cards, and I quietly slipped out of the house a few minutes after her. I knew where she was going because she told me so herself, and even left a phone number where I could reach her if I needed to talk to her. I lost her car, or rather it had somehow gotten ripped off on the way while I was stuck, so I just drove to Marge's house, where I knew this womanizing poker tournament was going to be held. When I got there, I saw Cindy's car among the other autos parked in front of her friend Marge's house. I waited a few minutes, scanning the street to make sure no one else would show up, and then I got out of my pickup truck, which I'd parked a couple houses away from my target, crept up to one of the windows and peered cautiously inside. When I craned my neck to peer into the back of the room, I saw 2 card tables with 4 women sitting at each table and playing cards. Some of them were smoking, others were periodically sampling the drinks on the table, and all of them seemed to be chatting enthusiastically with each other, slapping cards on the table and occasionally bursting out laughing. Shit. Cards, money, and no guns. Just 8 giggling broads in the room, no stallion with a foot-long dick, and no debauchery whatsoever. And I was already anticipating that I would descend upon this nest of whoremongers and put a stop to their unbridled bacchanalia. My investigation was at a standstill, so I slowly backed up to get back to my pickup truck. Of course, by the law of meanness, as soon as I started to back up, I stepped in a pile of dog shit. Rock, I said through gritted teeth, waddling sideways like a drunken crab on thickly greased shoes toward the truck. Goddamn shitting dogs, and dog-owning hoopos who feed their mutts and then let them run around. And good, unsuspecting guys, as a result, have to deal with the demining of the left surprises. Anyway, I had to clean dog shit off my shoes for about 10 minutes before I could get back in my truck. Holy crap. They still stunk. It was a good thing I opened all the windows, increased my speed, and managed not to get in the way of the inspector, or he would have given me a ticket for the particularly stinky environmental plume behind me. Well, the first outing ended in a fiasco, but I didn't give up. My stomach, like a trusty compass, was telling me that treason was close at hand. When I got home and quickly threw off my shit suits, I went to the laundry basket and looked for my wife's bras and panties. Good thing she hasn't done her laundry this week. I can smell I'm on the right track. Taking her panties out of the hamper, I carefully felt their entire crotch and held the gusset up to my nose. Bruh, they stink. Hey, shut up. I don't give a shit what you're saying. Used panties that have been in the hamper for days stink, period. Whether they're from the crotch of a respectable family woman or a fun-loving hottie, it doesn't matter. It's not at all the same when you're horny and dive your nose between your woman's legs. Everything smells good during sex. But those pieces of fabric, with whitish streaks and yellow spots, that had been in the basket for almost a week, and now swayed in front of my nose, smelled not even lilies or violets. All right, let the wife's panties be a bummer. Let's move on. I went through her closet looking for revealing dresses and clothes that looked inappropriate. Then I went through every drawer in her dresser. Nothing suspicious. Just zero. I found a binder of invoices lying in the file cabinet in the office. I flipped through the fucking bills until the damn numbers were bouncing around in front of my eyes like balls in a lotto drum. Once again, I found nothing out of the ordinary, unless you counted the hole in the bagel. Mother of all honesty, Cindy was good at hiding evidence. For a cheating wife, she was great. I got on the computer and entered her password into a pop-up window. She had told me the keyword a long time ago. Plus, just to be sure, we had printed it out and hung it next to the computer on the wall. I went through all of Cindy's emails, which, come to think of it, was pretty stupid since she and I shared an account and we'd both used the same email address for years. If there was any dirt in there, I would have noticed it long ago. Not surprisingly, poking back and forth in the mail, I couldn't find a damn thing. To think of it, another dead end. Shit. I've been digging around for 3 hours trying to find anything against Cindy, but I've got nothing. And when I read all these cheating stories on my computer, there's always some shit in them. Secret phone records, motel bills, dropped panties, unexplained spending, handprints on asses and tits, and a million other clues. In these stories, they hire super-duper sneaky private investigators. They install clever phone-tapping devices. Then the cheating wives track down their walker husbands. Then the suddenly enlightened husbands catch their slutty broads. Oh yeah, they also make sure to take crisp color photos of cheaters practicing the Kama Sutra, shoot expository videos, and even catch strange men in the marital bed. Ooh, where is all this stuff, I ask you? If I can't find shit, my Cindy must be a master at cover-ups and double-dealing. Just as I gave up and started to clean up my mess, the front door opened and Cindy walked in. I was kneeling in front of the laundry basket, holding her dirty panties in both hands. I froze in place. She froze, looking at me. I don't know whose eyes were bigger, but hers were definitely like cat saucers. "Okay, Ron, I think it's time we had a talk," she said slowly, keeping her gaze on me and approaching cautiously along the wall. "You followed me to Marge's, and then I saw your face peering out from behind the jamb of the open window. Then I heard you grunting somewhere in the darkness. Did you step in some dog poop?" She sniffed the air with her nose. "Oh yeah, that's right. So that's where Marge lets her doggy do her dirty deeds." "Doggy? Oh, really?" Judging by the pile I'm in, Marge is not a pet dog, she's King Kong. He's probably grinning his teeth at me from his kennel after I blew up his landmine. I was still sitting there with a stupid smile on my face, a pair of underpants in my hands, and my eyes wandering back and forth. There was no way out. The skin on my face and neck felt hot for some reason. My throat was dry, and in general I suddenly lost the gift of English speech. Now I come home and I see you sitting there sniffing my dirty laundry. If I didn't know you better, I'd think you didn't trust me. Do you really think I'm cheating on you, Ron? Yeah, I don't know, Cindy. I have, this bad gut feeling. And I've been having this, all day since this morning, I stammered, mumbling something in my defense. "Come with me, honey, and let's talk." My wife turned and walked toward the living room. I threw the laundry in the hamper, got up and followed her, landing on the couch. Cindy sat down next to me, folded her hands in her lap, and looked at me intently. "Were you reading erotic stories again? On your lunch break at work?" she asked rather shrewdly. I nodded embarrassedly. Well, yes." "And there were stories about cheating wives?" Cindy asked. "You guessed it." I sighed again. "Tell me, did you think of me when you read all those stories about cheating wives?" "Of course I did," I mumbled, averting my gaze to the side. "Otherwise I wouldn't have followed you to Marge's tonight. Besides, when I got home from work, you were on the phone. You were on the phone with someone, and as soon as I walked in, you hurriedly said, 'I gotta go,' and hung up. Why don't you explain?" I went on the offensive. Cindy looked at me with raised eyebrows and smiled broadly, shaking her head. "God, I don't even know if I should be mad at you or just hug you," she grinned. I frowned and stared back at her and said, "Still, who were you talking to when I walked in? Please don't lie to me." "I wasn't going to," she shrugged. "Actually, I was talking to your mother. She calls me almost every day, as you probably know." "Wait, that call was the reason for your big investigation? Oh, geez, Clinton." Now I felt stupid. Not for the first time today, though. How could I have forgotten about my mom? Another one of my phone-happy moms. Cindy tilted her head to the side and smiled slyly at my guilty conscience. Then she moved closer and put her hands on top of mine, squeezing them lightly. "Ron, darling, tell me, honestly, have I ever done anything to make you suspicious or distrustful of me?" "No," I admitted. "It was just my gut feeling." "Honey," Cindy continued to smile, "you're a miracle. If I didn't love you so much, I'd probably freak out at the numbers you're pulling." She wrapped her hands around my cheeks and said the next words, looking me straight in the eye. "You're my favorite man, the one and only, no matter how weird you are sometimes. I love you with all my heart, even if I don't say it often enough. Maybe we don't make love enough, but we can fix that. And the best thing to do is to do it right now." With those words, she took my hand and led me into the bedroom, locked the door, dimmed the lights, and then began undressing me. "So, do you feel better now?" With sly demons bouncing in her eyes, she asked. "Cindy," I replied, turning my head on its side and again stroking her tantalizing curves with my gaze. "You're the best and I love you. But what about those warning signals coming from my gut?" She smiled, then giggled, and finally just started laughing uncontrollably. Holding her stomach with one hand and wiping away tears with the other, Cindy pulled a blister of pills out of the medicine cabinet and tossed it on my bed. "Here, take 2 of these, honey. You only have indigestion," she said. As soon as I popped the wheels and froze, listening to the rumbling response of my stomach, my wife gave me a stern look and added, "And honey, please stop sniffing my dirty underwear. It's disgusting." "I agree, what the hell? When Cindy's right, she's right.